I was just, we was getting along so well. Justin was there again, and then I got a catering, and I'm sat down, and then all of a sudden, Joe Hendry walks up to me and just goes, "Robbie wants a word." I'm like, oh, am I in trouble? But then he just gives me like a knowing nod and a big smile, and I'm like, Jesus, what's going to happen? Like, so I go outside, and Robbie's talking to somebody at the time, and then he just says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go because this lad's got a match tonight." And what? Like, that's seriously? Like, this is how I found out. And then he takes me to the ring, and I meet Joey Mercury, and it turns out it's me and Justin Sizem against the Usos in the dark match for SmackDown.
Oh, okay.
And again, like, it might not, some people might be just like, oh yeah, you got a dark match, big well, but really, what again? That validation. I'm on the next. Yeah. I'm definitely on the right track. I'm doing something right. And I remember just how nervous I was when I stood in that gorilla position, and looking at the producers there, and this has to go well. Nothing in this can, and then I'm like, why am I doubting? And then I get out there, and they're playing the advert for the WrestleMania 30 Blu-ray, and thankfully that gave me enough time to just stand in the ring, soak up the fact that I was in the Liverpool Echo Arena in front of 11,000 people, and I'm about to wrestle for the WWE, and I take a breath, and I go, why am I so nervous? Like, this is all I've worked hard for, and I can do this. Why am I doubting myself? I can do this. I belong here. This, you always tell yourself that you're gonna make it here. Here you are. Do it. And it was.
And nerves are good.
Yeah.
Nerves
if anything,
makes you go.
Yeah, it shows that you still care, right? You
Exactly.
still want it. Did the match, came back again, shook our hands, said thank you very much. Thanking me. I just lived out a dream. And then going to the back, Robbie was pleased with me, which was at least Robbie's given me this opportunity. I want to do him proud. Well done. Well, you did well. You've done me proud. Go get change, get something to eat. Thank you. Cheers, Robbie. I appreciate it so much. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Frankie comes up to me, gives me a big hug, and tells me like it was like a father moment for him. And it was just. I remember driving back, just having this validation of, you know what, I'm on the right track. This was amazing, and it really was. That was the best moment I've ever had, ever. I just can't put into words how much it meant to me. And then, but the funny thing was literally 12 hours to the hour after I'd wrestled,
back to work.
12 hours to the hour after I'd wrestled for WWE in front of 11,000 people at Echo Arena, I am now doing a glass wash duty in the analytical lab of Ricky Ben Kaiser. Oh, lovely. Like, I remember just seeing the clock and just going, 12 hours ago. What the hell is going on? Like, this is not right. And it's, and since then I've stayed in touch with WWE, and it's always just been a case of, look, you're young, keep doing what you're doing.
And you're putting size on, like, you can see the difference in your size now.
Yeah, well, that was it. Like, that was one of the feedback I got in the May of 2014. Was try and get a bit bigger. You're only 23, so the first thing I did was hire a personal trainer, and then which eventually I got sponsored by him, which was awesome. And then he's now left the gym that I'm at in Hull. He's moved on. And so I've hired a different personal trainer again. I just think it's one of those things that as long as and I'm traveling more, I'm starting to get more European bookings, which is cool. Like, I'm being able to go and just make more of a name for myself. Trying like hell to get into Japan, but that's the last conversation I had with them was you'd have more luck trying at NXT.
Really?
Yeah, New Japan's really busy at the moment.
Well, apparently there's some space opened up.
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah, I saw that this morning on the internet. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I might look. Like we said earlier, I know I'm going to get there. It's just a case of being patient, being polite, working hard. And you can never substitute hard work, and believing in myself. And it's, if anything, it's been such a good ride so far of chasing this dream, and going back to just recently when Robbie was over. I met up with Dash Wilder on the NXT tour because it was like I'd not seen him in 2 years. So we met up in Newcastle and went out for a drink and had a good laugh. Me and Spitty and Robbie Brookside and one of the NXT wrestlers, Bull Dempsey. It was a really good night. And that night, saying, right, can you come to Wembley? Can you and Rampage Brown come to Wembley? There might be a spot for you on the on the show. And now Rampage, if anyone doesn't know, has already been under developmental contract and he left because he didn't feel it was for him. But for him, it was also, there'll be a bit of money in my pocket and, again, that validation of his success as well. And we went to Wembley. Unfortunately, it didn't come off for whatever reason. But we like Robbie said, he said, look, I can imagine it's a bit disheartening because hearing that crowd out there. But he said, like, there was 20 guys who was considered to come here. You and Rampage were the two that I chose. I said, no, Robbie, I appreciate that as much. And, I got some banoffee pie from catering. It was class. And it was, but, that was when he said, come to I'm in Leicester and I've got a training session. Come over. You're more than welcome to. So, of course, I was there. And then we went out for the Christmas dinner after with a few of the trainees and a few of Robbie's friends and family. And before I left, he just had a really good, talk with me and just said, you're doing really well. And I'm really proud of you. And gave me a big hug. And that was the first time I've always been on handshake terms with Rob. And again, as I left, I'm trying to hold back these, again, tears. I guess I'm a bit of an emotional guy. But
you sound like Ric Flair. Yeah. You sound like you're gonna
again,
crack up at all times.
It was like, again, Robbie's legacy speaks for itself. And I know he'd never class himself as a legend because he's far too humble, but he is. And I know that
it would be really interesting to me. I know Robbie pretty well. I've been away with him a few times. I know him. Yeah. I'm not best pals with him. I know him. And I know he was always such a staunch supporter of British wrestling. And not necessarily against American wrestling, but it would be really interesting to me to talk to him now he's gone over there and see if his opinion has changed at all. I would love to have that conversation with him.
Yeah. I think to an extent it has. He understands things change, but I think that's one of the reasons why Robbie was so successful as long as he was because he always did have that in his head. Like, he could always change with how wrestling was. If you watch Robbie's matches when he first started to compare to mid-2000s when he was still on the circuit, very different. Yep. And he can adapt. And again, it was just such a big thing for me to have that from Robbie. And I was, to this, and knowing the position he's in with WWE, it's one of those things that I'm like, look, just keep working hard, Nathan.
Absolutely. Sometimes, mate, it's not what you know, is it? It's what you know, but you've got to know somebody in the right place to be seen in the first place.
Yeah, well, and again, that was why it was so huge for me when I got that tryout originally in May 2014, was because at least now they're going to see me and they'll know about me. And I know, like, one of the big popularities that they have with NXT is keeping an eye on the independent scene, and I know that they quite, keep a close eye on Progress Wrestling in London. Well, they're also running Manchester now. But I've been fortunate to wrestle for since day one. I was their first champion, and it's one of those that, and now I'm in a position now. I'm having so much fun as a heel there at the moment. That I think, like, as long as the eyes are on me, they can see that I'm continuing to work hard and see that I'm getting bigger and just all those things. It's and I'm never going to jinx anything, but it is one of those that I'm just very confident that, well, like I said, I am going to get there come hell or high water. Never give in to your dreams.
I heard that there was actually a scout at the warehouse in Grimsby down Freeman Street looking at you, to be honest with you. They'd flown him all the way from America. So, I mean, that's...
Can you imagine that?
Can you imagine if Also, hey, listen, mate, I completely admire your dedication for it. It's absolutely tremendous. So, right, give me 3 other names of guys. See, I'm being out in Cyprus. I'm watching as much as I can. I'm still trying to follow it. If I was in England, I mean, say you met me when I came over, 6 months ago. If I was in England, I would be at these shows. I would be doing live podcasts. I would be, getting all this, and I'd be watching everybody. But I don't get to see everybody. Give me 3 names of 3 other guys that you think have got the great potential to do well.
Well, as I mentioned, Rampage Brown, I think, is the best wrestler in Europe. When he took me under his wing in 2010, it was such a huge thing. Because I remember watching one of his matches. It was at Croydon when I did my first show in front of Brian. And I turned to Ligero and I said, he'll get signed. Surely enough, he'll get signed to WWE. 3 months later, he got signed to WWE. And then when we went away in that half term and he took me under his wing, it was like, God, yeah, because I want to be like you. And then, to this day, anytime I get to wrestle Rampage Brown, it means a lot to me. And any time that we have an interaction, because it's always a bit personal to me that I want to, it's like showing to my big brother, look what I can do now, look how much I've learned.
Yeah.
And he's such a tremendous talent, and he's doing so well at Progress. Going back to Progress, he's doing so well there, and that he got that booking because they said, look, Nathan, what do you want to wrestle next month? I was like, please, Rampage Brown, can I please wrestle? Because this audience will love him. They will want to see him tear my head off. And I want to showcase to the world just how good he is. Because I wouldn't be, at the level I am if it weren't for his guidance. And that match is online as well.
I think I met him when he was really young. Is he called Ollie?
Yes, that's his real name. Yeah.
Was he trained by Drew McDonald initially?
That's who he ended up training with.
Originally, Jeff Kay.
Originally it was Jeff Kay. Yeah, and then
I have met him. Yeah, long time ago. Yeah.
And honest to God, every time you watch him, I'm just like, there's very few people that I get excited. There's people I'll be interested to watch, but I get excited to watch him.
He looks legit. He looks legit.
He does.
Yeah.
He looks legit. He's such a professional, humble person. Solely keeps his feet on the ground. Helps me keep my feet on the ground. And he's super talented. He really is. And I can't say enough good words about him. I think he's such a supreme talent. I'm trying to think of I'd definitely say James Mason, but you obviously know about him.
Very well.
I mentioned Ringo Ryan and Spitty earlier. I'm a big fan of a lad called Flash Morgan Webster, who's based out of Cardiff. There's very few people, I think, in this day who do high risk and make it mean something.
Mm-hmm.
He does. He gets that and he connects with it, and he's one of the, again, for such a small dude, has such believability. For everything he does, has purpose and aggression, and he's this feisty underdog, or he's this snotty little git, and when I go back to young people who come through the curtain and don't ask for advice, first person who will always ask for advice is Flash Morgan Webster. And the best thing about it is he ain't just doing it for lip service, which some people do, because you'll watch his match and he's taken on board. And he's, for me, in my opinion, somebody who's got a lot of potential ahead of him. I'm trying to think of a third one. There's so many that I do highly rate, but I'm trying to think of people who might not have the recognition. It would probably.
All right, let's change the question for you. Who's the biggest legend you've wrestled that you got a buzz out of?
Personally, Bobby Dynamite, because I always looked up to him. But in the grand scheme of things, probably Finlay. When I got to do the tag match against Finlay, it was like, wow, this is,
I did one spot with Finlay in a Rumble. That's it. And you know what? He was in exactly the right place.
Right. It was just so good. And again, just the first thing I did, thank you very much. See anything from it, and I really enjoyed it. Funnily enough, his son came over in 2014, Dave Finlay Jr. He's now in New Japan, and me and him got put together at a show in Minehead. Very last minute, Brian was like, "Okay, it's you two," and we went out, and it's one of them that I was so annoyed that I didn't camcorder with me, because it was just, it clicked, and to this day I stay in touch with Dave, and he's a really good guy, and that really